Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back on another video from Geekdom 101, and today we are checking out what happened to Gohan. So let's find out, shall we?
A little while ago, I did a video discussing the unbelievable power of Super Saiyan 2 Gohan during the Cell Saga,
Good videos.
and even some time before that, a few months before,
What if he hadn't stopped training?
Video discussing what would have happened
there you go. That was a good video as well.
Had never stopped training during the 7-year time skip. But the big question is, what actually did happen during the 7-year time skip? And why was Gohan so weak in the early parts of the Buu Saga?
It was annoying.
Why was the Great Saiyaman version of Gohan such a pushover compared to how ruthless and lethal he used to be? On this video, we're going to be discussing the early Buu Saga and Gohan's power during that time and what exactly happened to him. Because theoretically, he should not have gotten weaker, but things happen, and we'll discuss that
Let's
next.
find out. Oh, what is this? Dragon Ball Mysteries. I like it. Hosted by Geekdom 101, of course.
So it is stated several times in the early part of the Buu Saga, mostly by Vegeta, who was clowning the poor guy, that Gohan slacked off on his training. Now, one thing we know for certain that's unquestionable is that both Goku and Vegeta, one alive, one dead, trained their asses off in the other world.
They're still training the whole time,
7-year skip between the Cell Saga and the Buu Saga. And when we saw them again in the Buu Saga, they came back with an incredible increase in power. More so than anything Gohan would have ever imagined. And both of them were able to surpass Gohan in the early parts of that arc. Now, luckily, at the end of that arc,
gets his potential unlocked.
Later on in the Buu Saga, Gohan was able to get Ultimate, and he, of course, became really, really strong. But we're not talking about that right here. We're talking about the early parts of the arc and why Great Saiyaman Gohan was so weak. Because the reason why I'm even making this video is the mere fact that Teen Gohan, as they call it, which is incorrect because Gohan in the Cell games was not a teen, he was a youth. He was either 9 or 11 years old.
Yeah, that's not a teen, is it?
Guide you look at, roughly in that age range. You know, he was an absolute monster. And like I said in my video about Gohan versus Cell, the Super Saiyan 2 Gohan Power Up video, the dude was an absolute beast and was unrivaled by anybody,
he just messes with Cell.
Goku and Vegeta at that time. But if you think about this from a logical perspective, you would think that Gohan in the Buu Saga was actually stronger than he was as a kid because he grew up. I mean, 7 years had passed, and the way the human body kind of works, and of course this is anime, so it's not exactly like this, but we're going to get to that here in a minute, is that, you know, the older you get when you kind of go through puberty and you go from being an 11-year-old
you'll get stronger and everything improves.
18-year-old or 19-year-old or whatever age you develop, is that your body grows, your bones get bigger, your sternum
it's not like
grows,
he's put on flab or anything, is it? He's quite well built.
Thus you develop more strength, especially in males. So theoretically speaking, Gohan should have actually gotten stronger during the 7-year time skip, but that's not really what wound up happening. And also, you know, some folks are probably going to bring up the whole muscle memory thing. And while muscle memory is certainly a thing, it's not something that really applies here because of the fact that, number one, it is a fictional show and manga, but number two, it's also something that doesn't really work after 7 years. So that means that Gohan really slacked off. Now, I want to kind of clarify some things here. Gohan is weaker, but he's not a weakling. He's not entirely
he still
weak.
has a
Piccolo,
bit of a fight in him.
A guy who trains every single day of his life was still no match for Gohan. So think about that for a minute. Gohan was such a complete animal against Perfect Cell that Piccolo, a dude who trains every day, still could not catch up with him. That's, to me, mind-blowing and should tell you. It's a testament to how much potential Gohan had and how strong he was
he had carried on training.
Cell.
Jesus Christ.
Then, when you analyze statements that were made in the series, it further cements how strong Gohan was. Yes, Goku and Vegeta did surpass him. We know that for a fact. It happened. But Gohan was right there behind him at number 3. The Madoshi Babidi was trying to gather energy to reawaken Majin Buu. And as he's trying to gather this energy, he's finding people on Earth that could possibly
And
give
it's
enough
Gohan.
energy and have enough energy to warrant, the resurrection of Buu, or whatever you want to call it, the release of Majin Buu. Not really a resurrection, more so a release.
Yeah.
And he makes several statements, one in particular where he talks about how he doesn't even care about anybody else, because those three guys, and of course the three he's talking about is Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan, are enough, are more than enough, or have more than enough energy to bring back Buu. Babidi doesn't even care about anybody else except for those three guys. And remember, he didn't even see them at their absolute maximum power.
Right, okay, damn, that's
During the battle with Gohan and the King of the Demon World, Dabura, statements are made about Gohan's power, mostly him being mocked, and the statement was made that Dabura was on the level of Cell. But again, much like other times in the series, they don't specify which Cell, but we can assume it was probably Super Perfect Cell, only because of the fact that Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan, all three of them experienced Super Perfect Cell and were around for it.
You'd be able to compare it,
Goku not so much, because he died, but he could still sense Cell's energy from the other world, so he still counts. But the three of them were very familiar with Super Perfect Cell, so you would think that would be the case. But even if it's not Super Perfect Cell, even if it's just Perfect Cell, Gohan was still holding his own.
Yeah, he was.
But it wasn't like he was the savage that he was against Super Perfect Cell, especially before, the whole thing happened with Gohan's arm, which again I covered in the other video. So there's no question that Gohan did have a decrease in power during those 7
considering
years,
Dabura is meant to be as strong
as
as that.
big of a decrease as a lot of people think. So what happened during those 7 years? Well, the reality is, as everybody knows, he didn't train. It's actually a little worse than that. He really didn't train. Logically, it makes no sense that somebody would grow up and get, like I said earlier, go through puberty, get bigger bones, grow tougher skin, get bigger, larger, more weight, more height.
He's traveling around on Nimbus. He's not even flying.
The reason for this is not just the fact that Gohan did not train physically, but he also did not train mentally. We've had a couple of actual examples of this in Dragon Ball, most recently with Dragon Ball Super and Golden Frieza. When Golden Frieza was in Hell, he was in the cocoon and he could not move. This is after the Resurrection F arc, when Goku sent him back to Hell. What wound up happening was Frieza still got stronger because he learned how to do mental image training. Gohan did not meditate. Gohan did nothing during those 7 years, or at least if he did, it was very little. And because of that, Gohan actually got weaker. And to me, that's pretty damn pathetic, to be honest with you.
Lame.
What's really confusing is, why didn't anybody push Gohan to get stronger? Obviously,
Chi-Chi would have been like, no.
Times of peace, and I guess Vegeta and Piccolo and the others didn't think that Gohan would ever be needed to do combat, because when Cell was dispatched, I guess they thought that was the end of the big battles against villains, but these dudes have been fighting villains non-stop for decades.
A very long time.
They should know better. And instead of anybody coming to Gohan and telling him, dude, you gotta keep training, you gotta sharpen your skills, they left him alone. That's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, that is crazy, but no one
he could have learned image training. We actually saw him and Krillin do image training in the beginning of the Namek arc. Yes, it was filler, so that could be a reason as to why it doesn't count Toriyama's version of the story, but we saw him do it. He obviously knew and learned the martial arts from Piccolo, so you would think that by now, after all the training he got from Goku and Piccolo for all these years, he would at least have done exercises. And you know what? Maybe
a couple of push-ups every now and then.
To me, it's just been so unusual that a guy can go through puberty, get a fully grown adult body, or at least close to a grown adult body, and get weaker. It's just very, very
mind-blowing, isn't it?
And obviously Gohan knew how to tap into Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2, and we know that for certain because Gohan did it during the tournament when he was asked to do it by Kibito, which is how they even revealed the big secret of who Babidi was and what the plan was through that whole kind of setup, orchestrated by the Supreme Kai. So it's so weird that Gohan did not get stronger.
Yeah, it is strange.
And really,
it is very
I feel
strange.
like it was Toriyama's plot device to kind of rebuild Gohan. It was kind of his way to break Gohan down and give him a chance to rebuild using the Z-Sword, which he did get, incredibly strong using the Z-Sword later in the Buu Saga, in the middle part of it, and then that would lead to Ultimate Gohan. But the thing about Ultimate Gohan is, at times it does feel a bit cheap, because did Gohan really train to get Ultimate Gohan?
He just stood there.
He just had potential unlocked by the old Khan.
He literally just
Is that really
stood
as
there
earned as
like,
a
okay.
Vegeta or a Goku? I leave that for you to figure out. I know Gohan fans don't like it when I say that, but it's true.
It was just given.
Goku and Vegeta kind of earned their power, whereas Gohan just kind of sat there while the old pervert just gave him power.
Yeah.
You know, it is a little bit cheap, and I feel like maybe that could have been written to where Gohan had to do more. But again, that's neither here nor there. Toriyama couldn't even figure out how to end the Buu arc. He was definitely writing it as
it was
he
all
went
over
along,
the place,
which he
wasn't it?
always does,
Yeah.
but in the Buu arc, it was very prevalent. So while I think that Toriyama did have good intentions at the beginning of the arc to break down Gohan and rebuild him, I also feel like the execution may have been a bit lacking, but also Toriyama did change his mind. And I did do a video about this a couple of years ago about Toriyama and Gohan and why he replaced Gohan as the main character. And I did a huge debunk because people actually think it's because the fans pressured him, and that's just not true. And that's totally outlined in that video. So that's going to bring this video to a close. Thank you so much. Like and subscribe if you have not subscribed. And leave a comment, of course, with your thoughts. Love you. And remember, don't slack off on your training.
Yeah. Because as we've seen, it can really, really affect you in your strength and ability. True though, it is weird that he got weaker. And then to have Deborah being as strong as like Perfect Cell and then Gohan struggling against that is like, come on. And he is right that like someone should have at least maybe even had a word with him and checked that he's like still doing some sort of training that time. You would have thought Piccolo would have been there, like, because come on, him and Piccolo, they tight. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already, leave comments down below, let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos, and I'll see you guys. It's all you guys next time.